Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time, as well as some modern releases I've recently finished. Today I want to look at my top 10 Game Boy Advance games of all time. This console is very near and dear to my heart. I got this when I was a little kid. I played a lot of games on road trips and stuff, so I really love this console. But there are tons that I'm bound to be missing on this list as well. If there are any you feel like should have been on this list, please leave them in the comment section down below. I didn't play a lot of RPGs back in the day on the Game Boy Advance, so I'm sure I'm going to be leaving off quite a few of those. I'll be giving you only remakes count for this list, but no ports, no direct ports like Link to the Past, any of the Mario games from the Super Nintendo or Nintendo era. I'm going to be leaving those off the list, but everything else is fair game. Let's start off with a few honorable mentions. Mega Man Zero, any of those games on there, but specifically number 4. You got Mother 3, Harmony of Dissonance, Circle of the Moon, Mario Kart Advance, Sonic Advance, F-Zero, Golden Sun. You got any of the DBZ games like the Legacy of Goku, Boo's Fury, the trilogy there were fantastic, and Advance Wars as well. With that out of the way, let's get onto my list. Number 10, I'm going to be starting off with Mario vs. Donkey Kong. This is such a unique puzzle game that actually recently got a remake on the Nintendo Switch. I have not gotten the chance to play it, but I have heard that it's pretty good, and I really loved the original for what it was. It was kind of a rehashing of the original Donkey Kong arcade game, but with a new style and with a new presentation, new puzzles and everything. Instead of trying to get to the very top to free Pauline like you do in the Donkey Kong arcade, you have tons of puzzles, you utilize keys, utilize platforms. It's a really interesting game, and I had a ton of fun. This is actually a game I really wanted for a very long time, but it was something where I didn't have a lot of money growing up myself, so I couldn't just go out and buy games. I had to wait for like holidays and everything. So this is one I really wanted, and I saved up enough money, and I found a secondhand copy online, and I finally got it, and I had a ton of fun with this one. I really love Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I actually really love the series as well, and I'm glad to see it get a remake on the Nintendo Switch. Number 9 is going to be Wario Land 4. Now, I missed the Wario Land series because I didn't have an original Game Boy, but I remember playing Wario Land 4 and actually recently replayed it. I love this game. It's so much fun. The platforming is so solid. The abilities are so great. I think Wario as a protagonist in a platforming game is absolutely fantastic. He is so fire. I love his abilities. I love the things that he can do. I love the boss fights especially. This game has some really, really choice boss fights. This is the perfect game to pick up and play on the go. I really love Wario Land 4. Number 8 is going to be Metroid Zero Mission. This will be my remake for the list. This is a remake of the original game with some extra content sprinkled in. This is actually where you get the Zero Suit Samus. I love all the Metroid games in the franchise, but this one really shines really brightly because of how it incorporates a lot of style into what the original game had. I love the original game, but there are plenty of issues. The fact that it's super old and from the Nintendo era means that it's lacking a lot of basic features that are now updated for the Game Boy Advance version. I love how stylistic it is. I love the new sections they added. I think this is everything you want out of a remake, and it gives you that classic Metroid style that's really perfect for again, on the go. This game is beautiful for the Game Boy Advance. So Metroid Zero Mission is going to be sitting here at number 8. Number 7 is going to be WarioWare Inc. This is my first introduction to Wario as a character. I really love the character. I think he's so funny. I think he's gross and the perfect tycoon character. The fact that he wants to be building this video game company and creating these just trash throwaway micro games is really funny. And I say trash because he's just putting them in so he can make a quick buck, but they're actually really fantastic across the board. I think this is one of my favorites. I know they're compilations and stuff of WarioWare games to try and get the greatest hits, but this one really captures everything I love about the mini games. I think this has the best style. I love the side characters you've got. I just really love this as an introduction to the WarioWare universe as a whole. Number 6 is going to be Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. Again, this is going to be a remake of the original game, the original Kirby game, Kirby's Adventure. But I think this one does so much to improve upon the original game, giving first and foremost a ton of style. You've got the hats and everything that make Kirby so iconic. You have tons of abilities. The boss fights are fantastic. Again, mini games in this game are so much fun. The quick draw one was my very favorite. I loved trying to see how fast I could get the quick draw or competing with my brother. I really love Nightmare in Dreamland. I love getting to experience a classic Kirby game with a really nice fresh coat of paint. I go and replay this one every now and again because it is just so fantastic and so well designed. I really love the Kirby series, and Nightmare in Dreamland is my favorite in the entire franchise. Next on my list, number 5 is going to be Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. I most recently reviewed this game. I had a ton of fun replaying this one. It is my favorite of the Castlevania games on the Game Boy Advance. I just think they knocked it out of the park. It's very smooth. It doesn't repeat like it doesn't have as much repetition in terms of its corridors and game world design. Has some, but not nearly as much as something like Circle of the Moon did. I think the gameplay is so fluid. The abilities are fantastic. Everything melds together super well. The boss fights are a ton of fun and so challenging. From start to finish, this game really rocks, and I love Aria of Sorrow. Go check out my video review after you finish this one if you want to hear my full thoughts on that one. Number 4 is going to be The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. I really enjoyed this game, especially since it's like part of like the Wind Waker style. I think this one has a ton of charm and personality. I love the shrinking mechanic, going into like these tiny structures to find a whole new world. I love what this game does. I don't think it's the most content-rich Zelda game out there, but it is still a ton of fun and one of the Game Boy Advance's best outings for sure. I got this one secondhand, I think while I was in college, because I never got it growing up. This is another case of like it was too expensive. I couldn't afford a $30 game, and so I just missed out on it. So I got it much later on, and I had so much fun with this game. It's still a fantastic outing. I think, again, it's perfect for the on-the-go style. It's not nearly as heavy of a story. It doesn't have nearly as much content as other Zelda games, but it's perfect for on-the-go. So it's going to be sitting here at number 4. Number 3 is going to be Pokemon Emerald. This is my personal favorite Pokemon game just because of how classic it is. I love the Ruby and Sapphire games. I love that this one takes everything that works with those and puts them all together. I miss the days when they had like the combination games. I wish we would have gotten a Pokemon Z instead of to go along with X and Y. I wish we had those collection games like Emerald was. It's just fantastic. I love the storyline. I love all the Pokemon you can get in this one. This is one of my favorite generations of Pokemon. Rayquaza is my favorite legendary. I just really love what they did with this game. It feels like a perfect evolution of the series. It feels like the natural progression from like the Crystal and games. I just really love what they did with this one, and I have so much fun replaying this one for sure. Number 2 is going to be Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I love Mario and Luigi RPGs. Specifically, I talked about Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars and how much fun that game is on my channel earlier, but I really love the Mario and Luigi RPG series that continued after they didn't have any association with Square anymore. They didn't have the license to be doing a sequel to that game, so they did their own stuff. This does have the same director, and he really knocked it out of the park with this game. This is a lot of people's favorite in the entire series, even though it's the very first entry. It's my second favorite, only second to Bowser's Inside Story, but it's a very close margin. This one does everything right that you want out of a Mario and Luigi game. You have phenomenal boss fights. It's super wacky and weird. You don't have like traditional Bowser as the main villain. You've got these weird characters that you're fighting against. I love how again bizarre this game gets. It's just so wacky and weird, and the RPG elements work so well that it just melds together to form this really perfect RPG experience. I think Mario and Luigi are perfect for RPGs, and this was the best way they could have possibly started off a franchise like this. But number 1 is going to be Metroid Fusion. I've talked about the Metroid games. I've got 2 on this list. I love Metroid. Metroid Fusion is a game I have played more than any other game on the Game Boy Advance. On road trips, I would get so good at speedrunning this game. I could get it under 2 hours, like in no problem at all, getting a ton of the upgrades along the way. I was really good at this game. I remember first time playing through this game, I remember thinking how like scary it was. It has so much like dark ambience to go along with it. And this is like an E-rated game as well. It has so many dark themes. It has some scary enemies. It has some pretty horrifying enemies too. I still remember the one with like this floating guy that goes back and forth, and once you like break off his mask, he starts to like sag down and his face gets absolutely deformed and terrifying. You've got the SA-X, which is a terrifying variant of Samus, but then the X parasite that stalks you throughout the game. This game is scary, and mostly because of how well they make everything feel tight and terrifying. You've got the great music that goes along with it, especially every time the SA-X comes in. You have this like really chilling soundtrack backing it. I love everything about Metroid Fusion. This is a perfect video game, especially for the Game Boy Advance. They did everything right with this one, and I love it. I would love to see Metroid Fusion get remade at some point in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite Game Boy Advance games were, and I'll see you on the next one.